All right, people. You guys are tuning in to another Nomadical live stream, guys. This time we are in a little bit of a different setting. As you know, I am the Nomadical. I am a nomad. I like to get around. Round, to get around, I get around. So, like that old song they say by the Beach Boys. Um, but yeah, we've got a live stream coming to you guys. I'm going to be live with my good friend Rexus Prime, and we're going to do a rantathon because let's be honest, I mean, holy crap, a lot of crazy stuff has happened over the last few days. Rexus Prime currently working on the Schizo Rant series, guys, and currently working on a book as well. Um, he actually knows a lot of stuff. I mean, I consider him like kind of like an expert um, on the Ukraine war and ancient history and whatnot. So we're about to have him on once again. This is going to be a great. I repeat, this is going to be a great episode. And guys, make sure you guys use the hype chat over here in the sidebar. Hype up the chat because we need it. We need hype. Get these videos hyped up. Get people talking, clicking, liking, and comment anything you want. Pretty much here in the comment section. Anything you want to talk about with the streamers here. YouTube hype bot. Hype up this chat, guys. Hype up this chat. Let's get going. I don't really want to upload a video. I want to do a screen share. All right, guys. I'm in the chat room. How are you doing today, Rexus Prime?
I'm doing well.
All right. Glad you are on this stream. Thank you for waiting in the lobby. I was just trying to get everything all set up, everything all squared away on top of this live stream to start out. And of course, we're going to do the third ever rantathon together because a lot of craziness that will drive you schizo has happened over the last couple weeks or so.
I know. I've also heard about iDubbbz's quote return to content cop.
I didn't hear about that. Tell us more.
So basically, iDubbbz, who is now nothing more but a cuck simp who has no more souls in his eye, and I mean it. Just like take a look at his eyes right now. Is there any soul left? No. So basically, he made a content cop on Ethan Klein for Hassan Piker, of whom, by the way, has been harassing Ethan Klein. And fun fact, some of Hassan's fans called Child Protective Services on Ethan Klein because he was quote unquote dangerous to his own children. Now, of course, the actual reason was due to this. Ethan is the most is the most evil and the most apocalyptic thing in the world. The angels cry and demons laugh when they hear his name. And you want to know why? Ethan Ethan is a fucking Jew. That's why Hassan Piker has been harassing him because of oh I know Israel and I'm a Palestine and shit.
Ah, yeah, it's pretty crazy what's actually gonna go on over there in Israel and Palestine. Like you heard that Bibi Netanyahu actually wants to move on with the Trump Gaza plan. Apparently,
Uh,
yeah, they're gonna turn it into Trump Gaza. They're gonna make Gaza Strip basically a playground for a bunch of billionaires and zillionaires and trillionaires to hang around. You know, they're going to have the Bilderbergs there. They're going to have the Trilateral Commission there. And I know some of y'all at home don't even know what the fuck I'm talking about, but it's going to be insane all the way over there in Gaza if they actually decide to rebuild it. But the thing is I think Bibi Netanyahu, he also kind of wants to drag out the war for as long as he can. He still thinks he's playing this
Well,
role of Mr. Security. And
yeah, I know, because let's just say there's a reason why I now call him Schmeckelstein.
Schmeckelstein,
Yeah, Schmeckelstein.
he calls Bibi Netanyahu Schmeckelstein. Yeah, I don't know if you've seen. I don't know if you saw
and,
me.
and also and also I do find it weird. Well, why do Jews always call themselves with with their own last name ending with the word Stein, which is German for stone? What are they, stoners? Drug addicts? Probably.
I don't know. I don't know if that joke will land.
Yeah, but I mean by it's like, so are they stoners or not?
I don't know. Um, I do know that what's going on is crazy. How they're actually going to go through with that?
Yeah.
They're where
Oh
are
yeah,
these
and
Palestinians going to live? I guess they're just going to throw them out into the middle of the desert to just be like nomads,
probably
basically.
to either Japan or Egypt.
Yeah, I think they're going to end up getting treated like the Uyghurs.
Doesn't surprise me because, like, I mean, by if you ever watch Ptolemy, which he's a pretty small dissident right wing channel, but he once described of how China has really kind of moved away from communism and has moved to its own form of national socialism. Yeah, if you want any proof of that, of the national socialism is like still living, take a look at China.
Yeah, I mean it is probably one of the most authoritarian governments I've ever seen in the world. Honestly, I mean they are just. I mean you believe in the whole you know Uyghur concentration camp thing, do you?
Yeah, the Uyghur concentration camp is a thing.
Okay, good, because I was hearing some people saying that some guy on Jimmy Dore went and basically said that the Uyghur concentration camp isn't a real thing. Like I heard there's a whole controversy over
Was
that.
it Max Blumenthal?
Yes, I think it was Max Blumenthal.
Doesn't surprise me because I mean by he does kind of do his research and I can kind of see where he is somewhat coming from because like even I've learned this. Usually whenever there is an entire ideology that is pretty much other than communism, it is usually less deadly than the actual communist ideology itself. And even then, another area where I can see where he's coming from is mainly due to our propaganda surrounding China and how they are somehow this big threat, even though they are pretty much a paper dragon, which which that basically means yes, they are a threat, but they're not that powerful.
Yeah, I definitely do think that you know when we're talking about this whole idea of there's actually two really major wars going on that I've seen is that we've got two major wars. One of them is the war against basically the Middle East. It's the war against Iran and how you have Israel kind of spearheading that. That's why they're considered the intel front of the Middle East, even though they don't really protect anything.
To be honest, it's really not a good idea for Israel to start a war with Iran, mainly because, well, how should I say this? Both Israel and Iran have nuclear weapons, even though they're pretty small arsenals, but they can still cause some they can still cause a lot of damage.
Yeah, right. They definitely can still cause a lot of
It's
damage.
going to be. Yep. Though, if you ask me, will it start a nuclear war? Probably not. It will probably be more along the lines of a large regional conflict, especially since that Monzir Z, he's some historian who I watch. He predicts that we will move away. That we as the United States will no longer be allied with the EU or Israel, and much more focus on our own problems, such as our border crisis, our economic issues in the later future.
Well,
And but
one
but but he does
hope so.
also argue that we could possibly, but he does also argue that we could possibly become allies with Russia via economic means, mainly because when you think about it, is there any con to it? Not really. Unlike China and Russia's relationship, which there are cons to it, especially since that China wants to take Vladivostok.
Right. I mean, one can hope that we do move on into that direction of okay, we need to secure our border. Um, you know, okay, we need to obviously go and look at our own needs. We have homeless people dying in the street every single freaking day. We've got people, you know, going with no health care. We've got all these problems in the US.
Yep, and we have problems when it comes down to U.S. aid, and apparently, when we found out about them, that apparently unleashed a whole bag of rabbit holes. One of which is the fact that the whole notion of DEI has actually been around for a lot longer than we thought. It actually dates all the way back to 1965. Yes, the DEI is that old, and and really and really some of our businesses have been suffering through Soviet style requirements and restrictions in this nation, which really just makes this country far more quasi socialist than we think.
Right. Yeah. I mean, one of the big things that I did want to talk about, going back to the Uyghur Chinese subject, because we did kind of backtrack off of that, right?
Derail it.
We did
Yep.
kind of get away from that, but going back to that Uyghur Chinese subject, the idea that China is our main enemy. I was going to point out that there is two wars, the two Middle Eastern wars. We have the Middle Eastern war against Iran, and then you have our war against Russia that we fight with Ukraine. And it seems like what's going on with the Trump admin is he's kind of tired of fighting the Ukraine war already. After we saw at the White House
Yeah.
with Zelensky and everything, um,
Oh yeah, like immediately, almost every single pro-Ukrainian, same as actual Ukrainians, and pretty much every normie started to side with Zelensky, ignoring the fact that he said "huka bliet" to JD Vance,
yes, I
because
said
they have to make him out to be this one innocent angel that would do no harm, even though his own government has been arresting Orthodox priests in their nation, mainly because they're trying to de-Russify themselves, and of course the Ukrainian Orthodox Church has its own ties to the Russian one. Yeah, I wonder why. It is not like that they had well over 1,000 years worth of historical ties, and the fact that Kiev was the entire birthplace for Eastern Orthodoxy. But still, now they're arresting Orthodox priests, and they're also arresting people who would criticize Zelensky. But people never pay attention to that because they don't want that to come out, such as the film 20 Days in Mariupol, which they only showed one 5-second long clip of someone from that region saying that the Ukrainians are bombing us, and they never show that again. because the film is more of pro-Ukrainian propaganda made by CBS.
Right. Yeah, and I think also, like, I think it's good that we're trying to get away from fighting in Ukraine, but then we saw Donald Trump started fighting for Israel. Did you hear that Donald Trump posted that war crime on social media, on Truth Social?
Did not hear about that because I really do not have Truth Social, nor do I have Twitter.
Okay, so what he did is he posted a war crime. He basically, it was a big circle which he called the military formation, and I don't think anybody has ever seen any sort of military formation like this. It turns out the whole Yemenis media said that this was a religious gathering, which is definitely a more believable story. This giant circle of people out of nowhere gets drone struck, and Donald Trump posted that and said, "There, that'll teach those Yemenis pirates to stop messing with our ships."
Boy, doesn't surprise me. This is what. Fuck, I kind of forgot the name of these, but these are like pro interventional Zionists, as they're labeled as. AK meaning they are willing to like interfere in wars that are usually relating to Israel to keep it alive.
Yes.
Mainly because I mean, by almost every single one of our politicians has had connections to Israel, stuff like
Well, you
that.
saw my video
Even
about
Trump. Yeah,
the war
I'm,
pigs, right? You saw my video about the war pigs, right?
yeah,
Yeah. So
yep.
I kind of made that point that almost every single politician is bought out by those, yeah, Zionist APAC people that are going to fight those wars. So Donald Trump actually was, going over there, bombing in, doing more bombing in Yemen, bombing in Somalia. This is the same type of stuff he did, by the way, in his last campaign. Guys, he did this last time as well, but this time, once again, Donald Trump falls short of saying he'll go strike Iran. Because remember, last time Donald Trump was threatening to strike Iran as well. And Donald Trump even went as far this time as to put the B 2 bombers and start getting those ready, put those guys out in the Sinai Peninsula. And what happened after that is Tulsi Gabbard stood up for the American people and was able to tell Donald Trump not to go along with the bombing. And then Pete Hegseth, Pete Hegseth apparently went along with it and said that Israel's plan isn't as good and requires so much U.S. intervention. And then JD says, yeah, and think of all the veterans, basically. And then Donald Trump basically said, okay, we're going to postpone World War III.
Yeah, and I think we all heard about the stock market plummeting only for
Yes,
like
the
2 days.
tariffs. I want to tell
So
you about that.
to be honest, yeah, to be honest, I didn't really care when I first heard about it, mainly because it wouldn't really affect me, but it would affect the boomers who are far more rich than me. In fact, those boomers started to cry about it, and of course, people like I kind of said tough shit, mainly because most of those said boomers were the same people who told us tough shit with the whole Biden administration doing its bullshit all over.
The old
So
people's administration.
say fuck those old so I say fuck those old boomer billionaires for getting hurt, but by the stock market plummeting because it's like, well, guess what? I will not be affected, but you will.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I saw everybody kind of panicked with the stock market. the tariffs were pretty crazy. And look, I'm not a tariffs guy. You know, I'm pretty in line as far as on tariffs. I'm pretty in line with Ron Paul's idea on tariffs. Tariffs are a tax. I don't like taxes. Um, Tariffs are a tax on the middle class. Um, and I definitely think
Yep.
I'm glad that what happened,
Though I do,
Trump at the last second decided
though I,
to reform the tariffs and put them all into China. Because if any country deserves tariffs, it is China. But I've pointed out that China's been
yep.
tariffed for a long time before. I mean, the past three administrations have put tariffs on China, and still you look at just about everything we buy at the grocery store. You read the tag, the label,
It's all China.
made in China.
Yep. Though I still find it funny that those tariffs was like the only moment when like most Canadians unanimously become patriotic over a 25% increase on the tariffs, which of course, if you don't really know what basic economics means, well, let's just say that that entire quote 25% literally translates to about 8 cents when it comes to the Canadian dollar. They were spurging out over 8 cents.
Yeah.
Fucking
Well,
idiots.
did you see the hockey fights between America and the U.S. over that whole thing, over the tariffs?
Doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, the hockey fights. America and Canada had some gnarly fights after shortly after Donald Trump became president.
Doesn't surprise me. And I think I don't really know what to talk about besides the fact that besides the whole Carmelo incident about him stabbing a white man for simply asking him to move. Tim Pool made a fool of himself defending that man, despite the fact that Carmelo is obviously in the wrong. He stabbed a white man for no reason other than him asking him to move.
Hmm. What do you think of
And
what do you think of the fake um you know the fake um legal immigrant thing from the Maryland man?
the fake immigrant
Yeah,
thing,
the fake
and
immigrant
kind of
where well
didn't
they
really
said
hear
well,
news about that.
here's what happened. They said this Maryland guy who was a legal immigrant, right, got
Yeah,
deported by Donald Trump, but then it turns out that he actually was a member of MS-13 and he had been deported before and was brought back to the United States, and then they gave him like an ID in Maryland, I guess.
damn.
Yeah.
And back with the whole Carmelo case, obviously most of the quote black community started to kind of give him funds, and I'm thinking of eh, black culture is really kind of a danger to well the black community when you think about it.
I mean, it can get a little bit
Like
crazy.
the
I mean, I've seen some.
like I mean by the real danger to the black community itself is its own culture in the United States. Despite what people like to think, it's like this whole culture promoting criminals, gangsters, thugs, drugs, and of course, dichotomy. It's like it is really just destroying the black community.
I mean, it's kind of it's kind of crazy. I've seen this whole, I've watched for like the last 20, 30 years as this whole culture has been heavily influenced by rap music, hip hop music, all that. And yeah, I've noticed like there's definitely some rises in criminality. I mean, you go around the hometown,
Yep,
you see a homeless guy's
because most
lights on the
rap
side of the road,
songs.
you know?
Yep, because most rap songs, when you pay attention
One
to the
second.
lyrics. They always glorify crime, sodomy, drugs, all that shit.
I mean, how's it any different than sex, drugs, and rock and roll, though? If you think
Yeah,
about it. I mean, I'm a big sex, drugs, and rock and roll guy.
yeah,
I think a lot of
and of
it is
course,
I think a lot of the rap culture is just a lot of just like kids just trying to have fun and shit. You know?
yeah, and and I think, fuck, I can't really think of anything today. Just to let you know, whenever I am really relaxed or tired, I don't even know what to fucking talk about.
I mean, I definitely wanted to talk to you. Um, I forgot weren't we going to talk about tariffs for a bit? The Trump tariffs.
I think we were.
I think we were. Yeah, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the Trump tariffs because those were insane. I was going to say that the Trump tariffs. Thank goodness that Trump brought down the tariffs and put them on China. But again, I don't think that it's going to do that much. A lot of our product actually comes from China, and we're actually still going to take a economic hit from this as far as our
Yep.
prices go in the working class from these Chinese tariffs.
Yeah, and part of that problem is that these said tariffs are usually short term, but with China, they usually tend to think long term, and it kind of makes sense when you take into account the age of Chinese culture. You know, it has been around for like what 5,000 years, and American culture has been around since like since like since the 1600s, starting with the people going to Plymouth Rock.
Right.
Like our own culture is a bit more is like far more younger than China's, and we as Americans tend to kind of think in some short term longevity. You know, like our own longevity is usually more short term than a China. We really do kind of have to think long term when it comes to dealing with China.
Yeah. Well,
Sadly, our own American
their
government and
people are
culture
gonna,
thinks more short term.
their people are apparently just going to buckle down and manufacture more um, stuff. Apparently, their people, like they're just going to work like their people are already pretty overworked. They're gonna work the shit out of their people. They're posting propaganda up in Beijing with the
Yep,
JD Vance on loop, calling the Chinese people peasants. So
yep,
China's not going to go down with
and of
anything.
course,
They've already returned an 84% tariff back on the U.S., and then Donald Trump bumped his 104% tariff to a 125% tariff. These are unprecedented numbers, by the way, for tariffs on goods. And then everyone else, for
yep,
at least the
and
next 90 days, who knows what's going to happen after 90 days, but everything else is going to get a 10% tariff unless you negotiate your way out of it.
yep, and of course, some people were like, well, we're wondering why aren't there no tariffs on Russia? And I was thinking of, well, that's because we have already sanctioned the hell out of them. There's really no point in putting tariffs on Russia.
I mean, Trump has threatened to put tariffs, like additional tariffs on Russia already, though, because Russia, as we said, Trump wants to end the Ukraine war. Um, the thing is,
Yeah, but the problem with
yeah,
that,
go for it.
yeah, like I mean by the ceasefire that that he like agreed on with Mrs. Zelensky, that said ceasefire lasts for a month, an entire total of them 30 days, and the Russians are not budging for that, mainly because they do kind of see what that said quote ceasefire is about. it's clearly Ukraine trying to regroup its forces, and Russia does not want want to fight an entire regrouped armed force.
Right. So that's why they basically didn't they just violate the ceasefire, Russia?
Yep,
Yeah. So they basically just violated it. And yeah, I think Trump really thinks he's being the Prince of Peace here in America, but he's really not. He's not, honestly.
yep,
He's just
yep,
stirring up the pot
and
more.
and to basic yep,
Had to tell him not
and to
to
basically
invest
talk
in
about
Iran.
yep, and also time to talk about someone who I find to be an entire utter moron. Equality for Alliance. And if you want to know why I think he's a moron, he is a socialist who is pro DEI. Now you know why I think he's a fucking moron. Because it's like, okay, it is very clear that you are considered to be a protected minority, gay furry, and for some odd reason, most most furries tend to be left leaning anyway. So of course he believes that the right wingers are some of the most radical people because the left is now claiming that I'm a far right extremist are now burning down mansions, even though even though the left are the ones who are now burning down Teslas and painting swastikas on those.
Yeah, did you
Like
see that
they are literally
one
plastering
SJW?
swastikas on those Teslas.
Did you see that one SJW in I think it was a subway or a bus? Um, like go off on somebody with a MAGA hat and like slap them.
No, I don't think so, but I have seen a video of some SJW trying to burn an entire Tesla car, but his own aim and throwing of that said Molotov cocktail was so terrible that he ended up setting himself on fire.
Yeah. Hey, and what about those hands-off protests that happened on April 5th? Like,
Hands off protests.
yeah,
Let me guess, were they
did
about
you
the
see
abortion
the
thing?
SJWs take to the streets? Because I did. You see,
Hmm.
I really was said this. Hey, I'm glad they actually figured out how to protest peacefully because for the weeks prior to that, they were doing the burning down of all the Teslas. I'm not a big fan of burning down Teslas. I can go into it if
And
you want, but
years before that, there was the quote unquote summer of love.
yeah. But the thing is yeah, they actually finally figured out how to protest peacefully, and I was like, congratulations,
Yeah, but
slow clap.
this will be somewhat uh of an entire short term temporary moment
Yeah,
because knowing how neo Marxists think, they will probably do an entire quote unquote peaceful protest
yeah,
only once in a while, and then after that, it is just quote unquote mostly peaceful burnings.
yeah. Mostly peaceful
Whilst
burning.
they burn down black-owned businesses and wear and wear and wear and wear attire very similar to a certain group that was founded back in Tennessee right after the Civil War, but by five former Confederates. I think
Oh,
you know which group I'm talking about.
the one run by the Democrats, right?
Yep. Let me see here. What's that song? Oh yeah. I am the Grand Wizard Man, born leader of the coup.
Don't
Yeah,
say it on
you know which
screen,
group
bro.
I'm talking about.
We got YouTube, bro. We got YouTube, bro. Don't say it on
Yeah, I
stream,
know.
my man. Bro's about to go into
Yeah,
schizo mode there for a second. I was worried he's gonna say it.
but yeah, they're now starting to act similar to that group. But yet they will constantly label us as the racists, even though, uh, like, if you're like me who constantly gets into rabbit holes, you'll realize that like that like racism is like a form of classism, and then you'll realize that like most communist and socialist leaders were like some of the biggest racists of all time.
Right. Yeah. I mean, look, man, these woke SJWs. I mean, I'm telling you, they're like always going to be around. Like I think people think that we're gonna get rid of them. That you know,
Yeah,
people like thought they were gonna
to be honest,
disappear after the Trump one,
yeah, to be honest,
but they're not.
with the whole woke thing, yeah, it will go away, but it will go away in a more long term thing. It can mean it's going to take a long time until it finally disappears. Like if you ask people such as what the EGAD, Pac 43, and many others, we're now thinking that I'm a wokeness we will only really start to go away in about a decade.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean,
Yep,
it's so
we
weird
have like
though.
9 more years left of this crazy bullshit.
But wokeness though, it is. They are going to get a big hit because these tariffs on China are going to hurt wokeness the most. Because guess who gets their money from China? It's Hollywood. And China's not going to buy Hollywood movies anymore, they say.
Oh yeah, and even then, most woke toys were like pissed that the game Black Myth Wukong didn't even have black people, even though it's like, dude, we already have prime black representation via Sun Wukong.
Oh,
Come on,
I
I
don't play the
have really do have to make these jokes.
I
Oh
don't
yeah, and
play that
also good news. I have some good news. You know that guy called Big Bungie of which I pretty much announced his channel getting terminated. Well, I have good news.
Oh yeah.
He is coming back. He is coming back this year in June. He will keep. He will keep the gays at bay.
How are you gonna do that? News of a Champion is in the chat. He says, "I love it, Maggle." And by the way, we're gonna do a "Let Me Talk to You" podcast. I think we're gonna do it. Let me get my calendar out. Um, we'll probably end up doing it in 2 weeks or so, either next week or
Yep,
the 2 weeks or so. But it's gonna be after WrestleMania. We're gonna do that podcast.
yep, and anyway, kind of go back to wokeness. Yeah, to be honest, I think the woke toys really kind of hurt themselves, kind of like shot themselves in the foot when they went after the Black Myth Wukong game, because that game celebrates Chinese mythology and culture, and they went after it all because there weren't black people in that said game. Like I mean by are
That's
are
crazy.
are they really telling China to put black people in their video games? Are they really stupid? Because because if anyone knows a thing or two about China, they do not like black people. They view them as subhumans.
Yeah, just watch that Karate Kid movie.
Yep. Or in the best case, watch Foundation for Economic Education. They made great videos about that years ago when they were pointing out of how China censors everything in our own media back in like the 2010s.
Yep. And China is
And one of those things was the were the movie posters.
being chilled.
The one example that I can remember was the Black Panther poster. In the Western one, they showed the actor's face, but in the Chinese one, he is covered in his Black Panther mask.
Yeah. You seen the video with John Cena with the ice cream? Bing chilling.
Yes, I have. Yep.
Put that in the chat. I put Bing chilling in the chat since we're talking about China so much.
Yep.
You might as well get the
Yep.
credit.
We're talking about China so much that I am surprised that I haven't heard Trump say it. China, 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 China. The drugs are wearing off. The medical, okay? The drugs are wearing off.
China.
Yep.
YouTube deleted my second comment. Fucking cowards, says Shoes of a Champion. Rip.
YouTube constantly does that with me, especially when it comes to comments advocating for like being moderate. They always do that with the comments whenever I say be a moderate. But then when someone says like kill the Jews, and they're like pro-Palestinian, that said comment doesn't even get deleted. But my own comment, wanting moderation, gets deleted. Fuck YouTube, man.
I'm just gonna type YouTube poop. YouTube poop.
Yep.
YouTube poop. Yep. Yeah, because YouTube is just, you know, I know that Susan died, but it's
Yes, I know about
she's
Susan's
ruling
death.
us still. She's still secretly ruling
Yep,
over
like I
us.
mean, yep, because Susan's ghost is now controlling that said Pajit, who is now the CEO. Do not
Khajiit.
redeem the Kotsar.
What's his name?
I I really can't remember, but he is from India.
Is from India. Hello, this is tech support.
Yep. Do not redeem the Kotsar.
Neil Mohan is his name. Hello, my name is Neil Mohan. I am tech support. I will send you the tournament. You will eat the bugs and you will like it.
Yep. But yeah, Susan's ghost is still controlling that app. We all know what happens to my previous channel. Quote unquote hate speech my ass. Because I mean by when I did press what was the cause of it, with the whole hate speech, it literally showed me nothing.
Yeah, that's crazy.
There was nothing.
It's insane.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm just so tired of it with all this, all this woke crap. So I'm kind of glad that China is going to cut off Disney and their revenues. And yeah, Disney's going to hurt. Disney's going to hurt.
Yeah, to be honest, Disney needs to be put out of its misery, especially when you realize who Walt Disney actually was. Because I mean, by many people like to scream that he was anti-Jewish, despite the fact that like I don't know, two of his most skilled composers for his own for the music in his films were the Sherman brothers, both of whom were Jews.
Yeah. No, and
And of course,
also
the only
remember
reason
Walt
why they're
Disney was
all
there for the early cartoons of Disney, which was anti-fascist propaganda. It was
yep.
against.
And then there's the fact,
They created
yeah, and their
cartoons
own
for World War
only
II.
yep, and their own only excuse was the fact that he allowed a Nazi officer to have to pretty much take a look at how they worked on their films.
Hmm.
That's all it. And this was like an entire decade before before those camps were opened, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah,
and and of course the actual only excuses was actually due to the fact that, well, how should I say this? Walt Disney was the only movie director and the only man who ran an entire studio in Hollywood who was actually anti-communist at the time. Most of the people who worked in Hollywood were all communists.
Yeah. Well, I mean, definitely Walt Disney is rolling in his grave now that Disney has been taken over by Kathleen Kennedy
Communists.
Townsend. Yes, Kathleen Kennedy
Yep.
Townsend and the woke SJW.
Oh yeah, from what I hear, from what I hear, Kathleen Kennedy might finally leave, and let's hope so.
She might finally leave.
Yeah,
I hope
she
so.
might
It
finally
will
leave
take
the
away
seat.
any credibility to her voice that she thought she once had. She was a thorn in the side of the RFK Jr. campaign for the longest.
Yep,
Which, by the way,
and
we
she was one of the
that.
massive, and she's the very person who destroyed Star Wars. Like, I mean, by let's just admit it, Star Wars as a franchise is dead.
Shoes of a Champion says he heard something about Walt Disney being a pedophile.
Uh, wouldn't surprise me if it was possibly the case, but then again, who knows if it was true or not?
No, I've always thought
I
that
mean,
Disney, especially more recently, Disney Parks has had a underground pedophile ring. That's what I've always thought. I thought
yep.
that it was that
Oh yeah, I have.
underground pedophile ring.
Oh yeah, I have
Kids were
heard.
missing.
I, yep, and I have heard something interesting. I need to find the link. It's there. It is. I need to copy it. So one of the people in my server, that being his own name is my Yerma. He's very anti-communist, and apparently, from what he has heard, and there's a link to the article, the Russian government has investigated Joseph Stalin's life, and they found out that he raped a 13-year-old when he was alive.
Oh, brother. Oh, Lode, have
Yep, yep, and I just sent you the link in DMs.
Oh boy. I don't think I want to find out about that right now.
Yeah, and already YouTube's mom moderators are like probably pissed
YouTube,
that I
YouTube,
called
YouTube
that I
moderation
called one of
problems.
their sacred cows a creep.
Yeah, yeah. YouTube is just insane with the moderation and stuff, man. But
Yeah,
you know,
though it is kind of funny that they're willing to ban
Rumble is
people like I who
trash,
make offensive jokes.
dude. Rumble is complete
Like,
trash, though. That's the thing.
yeah, but I do honestly prefer Rumble over YouTube mainly because of the free speech.
I've thought of trying my hand at Twitch, but I hear it's worse over there.
Oh, it is. You can get banned just for simply showing your fucking torso's nipples as a man. But a woman, 1 day ban. But a man, permanent ban. It hates men. Twitch is actively misogynistic towards men.
Yeah, I think that's true, man. I think that's true. I think that for some reason the people who run that site are they're most of the people on Twitch are mostly woke toids. I hear anyways, like Hunter Avalanche,
Oh yeah, like I mean by
Bosch,
like one of the most influential people would be Hassan Piker, the same
Hassan
person
Piker.
who's been who's been basically ruining Ethan's life all because he's Jewish.
Yeah, but at the
But
same,
they will but he always runs away from the question about his past in Germany. If you do not know, Hassan Piker's Kiwi Farm page mentions the fact that he allegedly sexually assaulted a woman in Germany
what
years ago. Like I mean, by decades ago.
what that's wild. What is the source on this?
Yep. It is from Kiwi Farms.
Kiwi
You have to look up Hassan Piker Kiwi Farms.
Kiwi Farms Hassan Piker.
Yep. Yeah, if you want to find an entire internet site that can
There's
pretty
Kiwi
much
Farms right
that can
here.
pretty much archive
Hassan.
all of the horrible bullshit that people have done, it would be Kiwi Farms. Like they even archived like they've even archived Short Fat Otaku,
Hassan
who has pretty
Piker.
much admitted
It says here that he wants to get into a boxing match. He wants to,
send
he wants to
him
box Sam High.
send him to fight Sam Hyde. Send him to fight Sam Hyde.
Yeah, yeah. He wants to fight.
By Sam Hyde did say it on his post wrestling match.
You know, I would love to see Sam Hyde versus Hassan Piker on WrestleMania. That'd be fun.
Yes, yes,
WWE
it would be
WrestleMania
so good.
show.
But of course, but of course, Hassan is one big old coward.
Yeah, of course he is. He's a wimp. That
And a
kid
Twitch
that
streamer
kid
because for some odd
gets
reason,
some beef, and he needs to go
like I
on
mean by
beefs.
yep. And then there's the fact that he's also a Twitch streamer, and of course, every single Twitch streamer is some big old backstabbing cunt or prick.
Yeah, like Vaush.
Oh, I still want him to get punished, but
Vaush,
again,
he
yeah,
loves the chomos, man. He loves the chomos.
yep. Everyone called it out years ago, but
I call it. I
again,
made a video called "The Roast of Vaush" a while ago.
yep.
I don't know if you guys saw
And of course, yeah, and Big Bungie really did his research because he actually found more clips of him de- defending pedophilia besides that one clip long before he was exposed for his folder.
I put Vouch sucks in the chat because that's
Like, I mean, by he once
absurd.
tried to convince this one really beautiful Muslim girl into having an entire threesome with him and this one other guy, and of course, obviously, she denied it because she was very devout Muslim,
Right.
so of course she obviously denied it.
Not.
But it's like the way he talked about that story, he just sounded like a fucking creep.
Yeah. I see where you're doing, man. I see where you're going with it. Yeah. It was
Because it's
strange.
like I mean by Vosh is the very definition of a stranger danger.
Stranger danger. Yep. Yep.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, honestly, I don't really have that much else to talk about. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't really know either because all I know is that I've been kind of listening to a band called Count Spookula. I know, very early for me just to listen to my Halloween themed songs. I know, very fucking early.
Yeah. All I can say is I know that guys, tomorrow's Easter, so I hope you guys have a great and nice Easter with your family. Um, eat some, eat some carrot cake because that's something you usually eat on Easter.
Jelly bean.
Jelly beans, yeah, eat jelly beans. Eat some motherfucking chocolate rabbits and shit. And you know, I know also WrestleMania time is gonna be here as well. So, um, in the next episode of the Let Me Talk to You podcast, which should be sometime next week. It'll be in about a week or so. I'll let you guys know on a post. But when we do the Let Me Talk to You podcast, we're going to review WrestleMania and also the UFC 314 that happened. So, guys, if you haven't already, make sure you guys leave a like, leave a comment, share, and subscribe for more epic, awesome, cool, funny, interesting videos and entertainment just like this one. Go check out Rexus Prime's YouTube channel as well. You're at Mr. Caloverat on YouTube, right?
Yep, that's me.
Yep. And yeah, anyways, thank you guys for tuning in to the Nomadic Coles Rantathon number
Oh,
3.0. This is Nomadic Cole
yep,
signing off. See you, Rexus.
yep. See ya.
Ending the stream in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.